Where even if people don't know what Doodles is or what the brand is, they've probably seen the art.
The base price anyone is willing to give up your artwork is in the tens of thousands of dollars, like getting close to the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, how did that make you feel?
A lot of our holders are in really high places. I know there's staff at Apple that holds it. There's even a member of the Taliban who holds a doodle.
Apple to the Taliban is probably going to be the headline of the show. Yeah.
NFTs, it was almost like we were a bunch of sort of child stars that burn out and become drug addicts. You can't sort of reach that high that you had.
Tell me about like the NFT space and then your time launching the project and what happened from there.
You know, we're already accustomed to owning and caring about digital assets that we can't hold. So if I was to take your phone and throw it in a pond, are you more concerned about the phone itself or the contents on it?
Was there ever a moment where it felt too heavy a weight for you? Was there ever a moment where you felt like, you know what, maybe I need to just call this a day? I need to find somewhere else to follow my passion, follow this artwork.
I don't know when this call is airing, but we have a really exciting, very household name, very traditional brand partnership coming out.
It'll be after then, so if you wanna drop it, I promise you that you don't have to though. No pressure.
Yeah, no, I'm going to.
For anyone who might not know yet, what is Doodles in your own words?
It's hard to define. It's a bit of a enigma. It's a bit of a cultural phenomenon. It probably shouldn't exist. I think it was a bit of an industry disruptor, which I'm proud of. But I would say that it's an art first entertainment brand built for a new era in a new space. It's interesting because what it offers is both escapism and community, which is cool because those are actually sort of opposing ideas. But I think Doodles, in a lot of ways, is a dichotomy. So yeah, I don't know, hard to define. Special, glad it's here. Glad we took a chance and it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, look, from what I've seen, like the artwork is exactly that. It's hard to describe. It's hard to explain. Like you can see the little doodles in the background there as well. You know, he's a little blurred. But the IP, which obviously is a big part of what you guys are cooking up here, is the artwork and is sort of your bread and butter, right? Like this is BT. Tell me a little bit about that. Like tell me, dude, the talent. Like how did you start in the industry? Like how did you start? Like, how did you come up with this, like, art style and the animation and everything behind that?
Yeah, so to your first point, like, this was me. I'm just a sort of cog in the wheelhouse now. This is a team of experts around the world. This is community members like yourself. This has outgrown me in a large way, and I love that. And that's the way it should be. How did it originate? You know, I've always loved to draw. Any piece of paper, whether important or not, was in danger if it was near me. I was always drawing on my parents' like mail and shit. And just like you can't choose the way your voice sounds. There is just this sort of natural curve in your knuckle and the way your art comes out of that. Of course, it can be trained up or adjusted, but I think there's always this sort of native aesthetic to it, and mine looked the way it did, and so I think having a love for something that is a marketable skill is a pretty safe bet when you're pursuing something. So off I went. I started a career aging myself, but like I think I coined the name Burnt Toast in like 2012, so that's 13 years ago, And I was doing pretty small gigs, and then got a slightly bigger one, was posting some stuff on Instagram. I remember being very excited when I got like 30 likes on a post. I was doing the heavy filter, like Instagram style food posts and shit. And then one day you couldn't even upload drawings at that point. Artwork at that point. Sorry, you couldn't upload photographs at that point. You had to, I think the idea was sort of in the moment type of app. So I remember taking pictures of my computer screen to upload them because they were inherently digital, which, is a nice segue into Web3. I guess like the career is no secret that my career sort of got really going as Burnt Toast. I first got reached out to by Red Bull and got a great gig from them. And then success breeds success. And as soon as I posted that, all of a sudden Dropbox was flying me down to Silicon Valley. Yeah, Google, Samsung, a lot of big tech companies, which was interesting because, they could have anybody. I think there was something very inviting about my work, and I think tech companies need that. So, yeah. And then popularity grew through those. And then during COVID, work slowed, and I started doing a lot of narrative-driven work on both, politics. It was a very sort of red-hot time politically with COVID, Trump's first term, and I wanted to protect the work I was doing with these sort of high-profile clients, but I also wanted to, speak my voice. So I took that risk, and that stuff started blowing up on Instagram. And then, Evan Keast reached out to me and said he was trying to. I started minting one-on-ones on Foundation, and he was bidding on one of those. He ended up losing on that bid, and he reached out separately and was like, I have an idea. So he introduced me to Poop, and we started Doodles.
Yeah, the rest is history. Tell me a little bit, before we get into Doodles, tell me a little bit about your time at Red Bull and these other industries. So they caught your work, and am I right in thinking the work and the sort of art style is similar to what we see today with, the limbs and the sort of the bright colors and everything that we attribute to Doodles? Was that sort of scoped out? Was that already your sort of unique style, and that's what they were attracted to, or how did that come around?
Yeah, it was. There's obviously like the DNA was there. It has been refined through findings, learnings. I went on to do a 2-year stint at Facebook doing all of their iconography. I played a hand in designing the like button. I branded Facebook dating. And I learned a lot through the science that is iconography, visual density, pixel pushing, scalability, things like that. So I just finished that weeks before the first sort of lockdown. Then went into this sort of Instagram sprint that I was talking about earlier. And then sort of on the tail end of COVID was when, what was that, late 2021 was, the golden era. So for Web3. And I took all of that knowledge and applied it when developing this collection. So Doodles work extremely well at 16 pixels squared, which is like a Twitter sort of conversation PFP. So I think a lot of those sort of practices, they really make the collection sound and well performing, in socials, which is what they're designed to do. I think PFPs they're like a brightly lit sort of stoic passport photo, and then we bring this high fidelity brand around them, but they really need to work in practice. So it was lucky.
Lucky is a funny word, because I think it's like from what you've just described, it's just like this journey of experiences that put you at the forefront of what then became a digital art boom. And, we reference them as NFTs or PFPs or JPEGs, but sure, realistically, it was just your life map almost just put you into that perfect spot. Because I guess for context, for people who maybe just resonate with the artwork, but they're not within that industry, you guys were fairly early to that NFT boom, that digital art boom that they may have heard back in 2021, 2022, when it all came around. And what you've just explained when you've just spoken about like this PFP-able image and this like stoic like piece of artwork that fits just perfect in that little X or Twitter circle, I think that's something that people learn from yourself and from those early projects, but so many people got that wrong to begin with. It was like they didn't understand that the PFP, and for myself to resonate with that in a way where, look, my profile picture isn't going to be my face anymore. It's going to be an image. It's going to be a JPEG. And that needs to fit perfectly, and I need to resonate with that. I can't think of any other projects outside of Doodles and Bored Apes, Azuki. There's very few that had both the artwork allure, the ability to like really resonate with the artwork itself, but also they just perfectly fit that little tile so that, you know, you could demonstrate that connection and people could connect with that through just that perfectly fitted circle, which, it sounds like just the experience you had.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think good art was another lane that was sort of wide open, and making these pieces utilitarian in this simple, seemingly simple way. I had set up a grid for all of these to be drawn in, and they had both the square cropping and then the circular cropping. It pains me when I see a PFP that is like cropped by a circle and a piece of it, sort of a horn or something, goes outside of the circular cropping. I'm like, no. Yeah. But punks is another one. You should add to your list, because they are actually quite beautiful to look at. They're first movers, among first movers, and they do function really well. Maybe I'm wearing rose-colored glasses a little bit because I know their value and their sort of historical importance, but I do I would add that to the list anyway.
Yeah, punks. I think it's almost a project in itself now. You know, the reason I use Bored Ape, Suzuki, and yourselves is because I classify them in their own lane almost. I think it was like this next wave of artwork that really started the NFT boom, right? Like that was when projects were just launching at mass, at volume. Punks did it years and years before, which is even more impressive that they did get so many of those things right and really did sort of pave the way for projects and those 10k PFP collections. But again, not wanting to get too ahead of myself or get too niche with this conversation, maybe let's explain NFTs to people. Can you tell me a little bit about, you know, you mentioned Poopy, you mentioned that, you know, this idea of an NFT project being brought to you. Give me a little history and lore about that. Tell me about like the NFT space, how you came to find the NFT space, and then your time launching the project and what happened from there.
The addition to the own layer on the internet, I think, is extremely important. You know, the most boring use case is the exchange of an asset for money, like ownership on a car. There's no need for a lawyer to hold these things in escrow anymore. I'm surprised we haven't seen that advance more quickly. And then historically, art is a very sensible store of wealth. And I've been quoted saying this before, but I was an inherently digital artist, and anytime I had to sell something, I had to print it. And the moment you print it, it's a reproduction. So this was super exciting to be able to sell the art in the environment that it was made. Yeah, I think it's interesting when people take photographs and mint them because it feels less natural to me. I'm not opposed to that, or like scanning a painting and selling it. It seems sort of like a contradiction, but so super exciting. I've also I don't know where I heard this or if I came up with it, but somebody was saying, like, if for people who have a hard time understanding the idea of owning something that you can't physically hold, you know, if I was to take your phone and throw it in a pond, are you more concerned about the phone itself or the contents on it? You know, we're already accustomed to owning and caring about digital assets that we can't hold. So that's a good way of explaining it to your extended family if you're looking for one.
Yeah, that's a great. I've not heard that conceptualized before. That is a great way of explaining it. And look, tell me how you came into the NFT industry, I guess, because, you know, was there anything that had caught your attention before you decided to bring your collection to the space, or was it more, let's say, you know, more organic in terms of like how did that journey go from like, hey, NFT projects and here's, you know, like a ton of money now just being passed on to this new sort of asset form? Where did Doodles and you fit into that? Like, give me timelines and like when you found the NFT space.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a big fan of sort of pushing your art into new places where it, you know, it doesn't yet belong. I talked about Instagram earlier. I was one of the very first artists to be building a name on Instagram. And actually from that and some of those gigs I mentioned earlier, one of the gigs I got was, being a partner with Adobe and going to Adobe Max, which is this big conference they do in LA every year, and they announce all their new software and give sneak peeks and stuff. One of the characters that was in that group that was invited that year was the almighty Beeple. And we got on super well. He was hilarious. We had this quota to fill as part of the agreement. We had to post like 3 images while we were at the event to our like main accounts and tag them Adobe Max or whatever. And he posted a dirty sock on the floor of his hotel room and tagged it Adobe Max. And he's like, there you go. Cause they never specified. And he was such a rebel. And it's clearly worked. But he's a real artist, and an unassuming one. A lot of respect for him. And yeah, so he did his $60 million sale. And I think there was only like a slight degree of separation in who we were and our, our, where we were in our journeys and stuff. And I called my twin brother and I was like, dude, I have to get involved in this. So, so then I did, like I said, mint some stuff on Foundation. I was so green. I had no information. But I figured that out through MetaMask and stuff. And then that's how I met Ev and Poop. And, and I had no idea that this was going to scale into what it is and what it's going to be. But yeah, it's exciting. I always was after, taking my art career to like a global level. Couldn't have ever predicted this, but I've seen a lot of sort of artists and founders burn out or leave or whatever. And I think because I was always sort of manifesting this for myself, when it came, I was ready.
I love that. I think, basically just seeing your origins and Beeple's and seeing that like sort of parallel journey you were on and just being like, okay, well, this was what was next, and the huge success that he got from those everydays, which I think everyone should check them out. Like just consistency personified. This dude is but also super quirky with it all. Tell me about the timelines then. So when was the collection launched? When was the 10K collection for Doodles specifically launched?
October 17th, 2021. We worked on it for about 6 months prior. Great timing. ETH was at all-time highs. We did something unconventional by closing our Discord and creating this sort of this line out front of the bar.
This.
It makes you want to go in. It was a brilliant marketing tactic. Ev is expert level marketer.
So the Discord and having this like gated experience, like trying to get into a bar. Obviously now that's almost, at least for a long time, it was the industry standard as well. Like, so you guys sort of created this experience and then so many projects did it.
We're very industry shaping. That's something I'm super proud of. You see a lot of the traits that were introduced in the Doodles collection as sort of like must-haves in a lot of new collections, rainbow puke, things slapped over the face. I think it's very cool. And you can never question who was sort of the trendsetter because it's all on chain, it's all time-stamped, and I think that's really cool. Outside of the art, I think, we invented new sort of auction mechanisms. We were the first collection to do wrapped NFTs. Yeah, the list goes on. That's thanks to all the brilliant minds that I've always been fortunate enough to be in the room with. So,
look, I think the idea of you guys being so early, because that for those unaware, like that timing and that launch, that was literally like sort of peak momentum into the NFT space. But having been building for 6 months prior to get that artwork where it was, it doesn't surprise me at all. But it's so unique to the industry again. Like I think there's so many more stories of that time frame being almost like automatic, like we have to launch our project now, whether it's ready or not, because people just saw the momentum come into the industry. And I don't know if you can remember like specifically the value of like each doodle and its floor at sort of its peak, but from my recollection, you know, we're talking way above 20 ETH. When ETH was at like $4,000 or so, that's gotta have had an impact on you. Like seeing this like collection and the size of that collection, and just the base price anyone is willing to give up your artwork, just the absolute minimum price they're gonna accept for that is in the tens of thousands of dollars, like getting close to the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, how did that make you feel at the time, and like what was the experience like with a community when that was all happening?
It was surreal, dude. Of course.
Yeah.
I think floor price was 60 grand or something like that for like floor base doodle. You have to remember, like, for me and only me, these came out of the end of my pencil. It's very hard to convince myself the value of these things, you know? These are effectively napkin sketches to me. Like, I can turn and make one right now. I do think that the sort of historic, I think it's important to be clear that this isn't just the art. I believe the art is super important, but it was about the movement. It was about the brand, the timing, the sort of cultural icons who have backed it. When I think of this as an entertainment brand, it isn't just this 2D watch these vertical videos on your phone and get a little extra air out of your nose because it's kind of funny. It's like the ups and the downs and the controversy and the people, the FUD, you know, all of it. It's all entertainment. Even like when Poop said Florida and get the fuck out, like, you know, that was taken out of context for the record. But that was entertainment, you know. People like a train wreck, and they're you know. And I'm not trying to do more of that. I'm after wins.
That's good to know.
But because people's bags are attached to this, you know, and that is, we have a fiduciary duty to keep that front of mind, you know. But yeah, it's an entertainment brand. It's like a celebrity. And they have their ups and their downs, but we will persist. I'm convinced that Doodles will be a thing long after I'm gone. So I'm merely the custodian but also the biological parent of Doodles. And yeah, I don't even remember what the question was, dude, but I'm on a rant.
No, look, we're talking about sort of that initial feeling of seeing, you know, this project, your artwork, and the collection that you generated from it being in the multiple tens of thousands at this, because if 60,000, 70,000, wherever we're in that range, that's what I recall as well. And the feeling that gave you, and yeah, look, we got into the FUD, we got into a lot there, and I guess, how has that shaped you now? Like, because that journey is a wild one. I'm with you, by the way. Like, obviously, I'm a holder. I think that goes without saying. I got there in a really unique way, which, you know, we probably share on the show. It's like I like and retweeted a post you did like not too long ago. When you think of like the history, I've been following Doodles from the start, but obviously when we talk about these values, they were values that I was not in a position to pay for any artwork at the time. And so I got the opportunity to come in. I now have a coffee, dude, so I upgraded it. Like, that was like been the PFP that I have coveted since day one. Like, I swear to you, I'm such a coffee head.
Coffee is a big part of your brand. I know that much. Beautiful choice. We love the coffee heads.
Dude, absolutely love it. I spent so long on coffee with Captain as well. I don't know if you know Steve and Chris, who do that morning show, Coffee with Captain.
I'm aware.
But they were talking about it for years. I used to spend 3 hours a day with them for like a year and a half on that show. And again, it's like just got such a resonance with me. But all of that to be said, tell me about that journey and how that shaped you, you know, coming from a point where you hit, honestly, the peak of the market, even to this day, the peak of the market in terms of how much any individual was prepared to pay for any individual piece of art formed on a digital chain as an NFT, going through all the ups, the sharp downs that the whole industry experienced, and now getting to today. Tell me just about that journey and what that did to you.
Yeah, it was euphoria, and I think that's actually what shook a lot of people out when it crashed. And I remember the articles, NFTs are now completely worthless. Remember that? And I was talking to a friend of mine, Elfie, who's one of our lead animators, and NFTs had a resurgence end of February 2024, maybe. I don't know, but there was this huge upswing after a long and cold bear, and that's all I needed to see, to know that this was not a fad. Like this sort of blip on the heart monitor is like, oh, there's life. Perfect. Because now we know that this has the ability to sort of come back, and it's not something like fidget spinners or something like that, right? So then it came back, and then it went down again, and then it's come back in a large way this year, which is great. And I did see it coming. NFTs, it was almost like we were a bunch of sort of child stars that burn out and become drug addicts, after, because you can't sort of reach that high that you had. But I think if the work you're doing is well intentioned and meaningful, then some of those metrics don't dictate how you feel so directly. Yeah. So
you mentioned it, the euphoria that the space definitely had. And I don't think it's even an argument at this point, but it shook a lot of people out. Was there ever a moment during it was years of a bear market, but also just the FUD? I think that people like yourself and projects at the price and at the expectations that you came with that euphoria, because there was euphoria in the market, but then there was like 5 to 10 projects that really held the weight of that euphoria on their shoulders, and I would put Doodles in that camp. Was there ever a moment where it felt too heavy a weight for you? Was there ever a moment where you felt like, maybe I need to just call this a day, I need to find somewhere else to follow my passion, follow this artwork?
No. No,
Good.
bro. Yeah, I'm so hungry I forget to eat. I was saying the other day, I was like, I don't burn out, I'm burnt toast. But no, I belong here. I know that adamantly, and I'm not going anywhere, and nobody could shake me out. I was here from the moment my pencil first touched paper, 6 months prior to mint, and I'm still fucking here, and I'm not going anywhere.
That's such a cool quote. And I did go through your socials, so pre-warning, like I went through Doodles, went through the socials. I was like, oh, what can I find? What can we dive into? So I do have a couple of bookmarks for you at a certain point that I want you to elaborate on. But that's iconic, dude. That is iconic. I hope you knew that when you were writing it. Just say, I can't get burnt out, I'm burnt toast.
I don't know. I was just talking to somebody the other day. It just sort of slipped out. I don't like catchphrases too much, but yeah.
I love that one. I love that one, dude. No, I want to see the community pick that one up. That was 2021, and we're in like basically the tail end of with September. I don't really understand where the years go at this point. Crypto both feels like it ages you the same way dog years exist. Every 1 year in crypto is about 7 years aging in the space, but it also feels like it flies by. And yeah, like I still remember my first sort of day in crypto as if it was yesterday. Tell me about there's just a litany of stuff you guys have done since then. So I got a bunch of it here that I'd love to talk a little bit about. One of the big milestones that I remember and think is shaping you guys so well is you acquired a whole freaking animation studio with this artwork called Golden Wolf. Probably the best animation studio from my perspective in the industry, globally as well. Like outside of the industry, they do some really cool stuff and they've worked with some incredible brands. How important was that move? Like, let's start talking about like these big future, these big like Doodles defining moments.
Yeah, for sure. So Yeah, they're a AAA studio. They're world class. They're one of the big dogs. We were very lucky to acquire them. And it was, it half, sort of 50% in acquihire. But
Yeah.
a percentage of their team, I don't know the exact numbers offhand, but Golden Wolf taking on clients like Fortnite, Disney, Pepsi, Nike, that was just this year. They're major, but they're self-sustaining. But a big portion of their 2D animators came over to Doodles. This was, I think, Doodles is known to be one of the overachievers in the arts and the sort of universally loved IP. So what better way to capitalize on that than to have a team of animators? It's funny when I look back to 2021 and what we were excited to be posting, and the assets we were using, they're kind of dog shit compared to what we're doing now. But it's good if you look back and see growth, because that means you're growing. It's been an incredible leg up. It's been a huge part of expanding the awareness of the brand far beyond the sort of harbor that is Web3. We have views on YouTube we have shorts on YouTube with 70 million views, but on one video, we've gone viral over and over and over. Even if people don't know what Doodles is or what the brand is, they've probably seen the art, not to mention McDonald's and things. So, it's amazing, because I've always had so many ideas, but only so much time in the day, and having this team of artists far more talented than myself helping me execute and proliferate and bring these things to market is a real luxury in the industry and just in life.
Yeah, look, I think it was such a big moment for me seeing that acquisition because of what it meant to NFTs. Like NFTs at the time, we talked about the $60,000-$70,000 price mark at the peak with that euphoria, but it all sort of boiled down to these still images, right? Like they were PFPs. That was an image you were going to put on your social media. That was sort of the primary flex. And then, of course, like ownership broader than that, but that was how you shown the world like what you hold and how you flex it. Golden Wolf then became, oh wait, so we've got live animations and we've got, as you've said, like a AAA studio that can produce that. Was that like something you knew from day one you wanted to get to, or was that something where it just sort of evolved into this IP needs to go beyond my napkin drawings, as you said, into like, hey, look, this is I want a show, or I want these things to move, I want them to breathe. Tell me about like where that came to be. Like, hey, look, I don't want these just to be still images anymore.
Yeah. We had canonized characters with real value and real fandom, and there was, the other day I tweeted that demand and distribution are two pedals on the same bike, and you have to push both in rhythm to move forward. We had huge demand, but I don't think we had the distribution. So it was either build out our own studio, vet the artists, train them up, or use some of our capital to just make this play. It was quite obvious to me. And yeah, we debated it for, a weekend, but it was obvious. But there had to be a cultural fit. Golden Wolf prides itself. One of their slogans is like, leave your ego at the door. And, to be gobbled up by a bunch of crypto bros, is not the most inviting concept to these artists with so much merit, but I think it's a testament to how much more we were than just, a Web3 brand. We are a Web3 brand at our core, and I stick by that. But yeah, it was a good sign that they agreed to this, because they had to, they would have been fine without us. Yeah, they went for it, and I'm glad they did.
Is there a movie or TV show in the future with this acquisition? Like, are we gonna see this IP come to life long form?
So these are big deals. You don't want to say too much. They can pull at any time, but we are in conversations with some of the largest platforms on the planet, and they were inbound conversations. So super exciting.
It's look. Should we talk about Dulville for a second? Because I think obviously that's this conceptual world, and obviously you've talked about the YouTube animations that have 70 million views on the most viral clips, singular, like as in 70 million views for one of those videos. Obviously that shows tremendous appetite in a world where new IP just cannot get a foot in the door anymore. I'm seeing a Lilo and Stitch live action and a How to Train a Dragon live action come out in the same month, because you've got Netflix and Disney just not willing to take a chance on new IPs anymore. Do you feel like maybe NFTs, to like basically the exact journey that you've gone on, like we'll start with images, we'll see if there's appetite for the artwork and if there's a culture that can surround that artwork, make it live, bring these things to life with real animations, but at a short form scale, a couple minutes, like 10 minutes maybe max, to then get to a TV show or to a movie. Do you feel like that could be a direction traditional animation studios start to take if Doodles really takes off?
Potentially. I mean, we'd have to ask them. They a lot of them are public companies. They're risk averse. It's like take a chance on a new IP and not necessarily know the outcome, or dust off Jurassic Park and make a Jurassic Park 15th or whatever, and know that it will sell. Which are their investors going to push them towards? I think, and then new IP really relies on them as a platform. So if they're not taking the bet, then it's just all of it's a non-starter. I think, yeah. So the amazing thing about NFTs is you have capital, you have community and fandom baked in, and yeah, so I said at the beginning of this call that, we've been an industry disruptor. I think this is another example of that.
Yeah, let me rephrase this for you as well, because I guess from the Netflix and the Disney acquisition side, completely agree. But let's say just you know what you know, but you haven't done what you've done in a parallel universe, another life. And you knew that you wanted this artwork to take life and eventually be on a streaming platform, reach millions, if not billions of people in the world. Would you go about it the same way? Would you still, just knowing what you know, would you go from starting an NFT project to get to potentially this like final goal of having IP that proliferates the world? Like everybody knows that animation, everybody knows the TV show or the movie the same way they do know about like Lilo and Stitch, for example.
Yeah, I would. I think a lot of great and top IPs on the planet were born through new tech. Mickey Mouse was the first big play in cell animation. Super Mario through Nintendo. These new sort of markets and technologies all seem to have a huge IP attached to the beginning of their timeline. So I think that is very formative, and it's noisy out there and hugely competitive. And I think if you can stand out in your sort of own sector, it's a great sort of soapbox to jump up to the next level. I do think NFTs, like, eventually it'll be silent. Like, just like we used to refer to MP3 players as such. Now it's just, a music player. I think we can shed that title, and these will just have perceived value, and everybody will understand that and not necessarily need to know why.
Yeah, like I already hear digital collectibles a lot more than we used to. I think that's actually a much better name for them, because NFTs actually means a lot more than just a digital collectible if you look at the technology behind it. So I'm with you on that one. Toy Story and Pixar, another example, I feel like, where IP like just got blown up because Pixar, Steve Jobs, like they had this like new technique to like bring these characters to life, and that absolutely skyrocketed, and yet so many more. It's a lot of this isn't just theory, right? Like this is history that you're looking at here, and just the deep passion
Absolutely.
for that industry, and seeing that just sort of constantly repeat itself, which is really funny when you look at the crypto industry, because sort of the same thing, you know, it is a lot of history repeating itself. Let's talk about the collaborations for a second. You hinted at it with talking about McDonald's. Obviously, you've got Pharrell in there. We've seen Crocs, Shopify. I love the camp pop-ups. It was before I was a holder. I couldn't get out to the US, but I remember Steve from Coffee with Captain talking about that and showing some photos on the timeline. Tell me about, you know, we say NFTs right now, I still would, you know, they have a bit of a, you know, are they dead? Okay, they're not, but there's still this like sort of hesitancy around that term
Sure.
for traditional people. Then you look at the collaborations that you guys have had during the peak bear, you know, just where nobody was talking about NFTs. It's actually better now today. And yeah, you've partnered with McDonald's, you've partnered with Pharrell, Shopify, all of these projects. Tell me about that experience, like the appetite for it, and your just experience working with these brands.
So there's a few things that they're interested in. They're interested in reaching new audiences. They're interested in the sort of adamant fandom that is sort of more unique to our space than others. They are interested in strong and fresh IP, you know. So all of that was there, and they a lot of them were inbound, and you know, we sort of, the first call, sort of tail between our legs, you know, just so you know, we're not, I don't know, just almost like an apologetic tone. And they're like, forget that. We love what you're doing. You know, most of these companies are just a bunch of cool people who are quite fascinated in what we're doing. I think the idea that most people are turned off by NFTs and allergic to the term is, I think, an overgeneralization. And a lot of these companies are not concerned about it at all. There's some legal hang-ups, you know, depending on like how Web3 the partnership is, and sometimes you have to navigate that a bit. But I don't know when this call is airing, but we have a really exciting, very household name, very traditional brand partnership coming out. It was supposed to be Friday. I think it's moved to maybe Monday, but
it'll be after then. So if you wanna drop it, I promise you that
okay.
I won't say anything beforehand. You don't have to though. No pressure.
Yeah, no, I'm going to. Yeah, it's Froot Loops, and
Shit,
yeah,
that's
so we're
cool.
partnering with Froot Loops. We're doing a box. It's gorgeous. We're doing a bit of a social campaign. I've talked a lot about partnerships and, you know, not being in the business of just slapping our logo on things, but finding partnerships that are really meaningful and greater than the sum of their parts. This was a no-brainer, you know, like everyone's favorite cereal with everyone's favorite sort of cartoon, and the O's and and because it's fruit with two O's, you know, it's just, there's a lot of synergies.
Perfect.
Yeah. And yeah, so like when you hear it, you go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And that's what I'm after. And then maybe I won't say too much, but I came up with a concept for them, and they were like, we want to thank you for making our team think more sort of, I can't remember the word they used, but dangerously or whatever. But we're not going to do that. So but we did find a meeting ground, and the box is super, super beautiful. And Norman Rockwell did a box with them, you know, I think 50s or 60s. And this is like an archival art piece, high premium grade, you know, that silky feel that is on like an iPhone box. It's like that, with like print layering and raised line work, and it's real archival, you know, collectible. And yeah, to share the stage with the likes of Norman Rockwell is a real honor. And yeah, and then we have a laundry list of partnerships coming. I'm super excited. They've really sort of fired up in the last bit. And yeah, but the sort of litmus test of, does this make sense, will always stand.
Yeah, like Froot Loops, like as soon as the words were out of your mouth, that was like I could picture it in my mind's eye, like that collaboration. Like, it's such a perfect one. And so, yeah, can you tell me a little bit about like how those partnerships do come to fruition? Like, is that you reach out to Froot Loops because that's just such an obvious and clear like collaboration with Doodles? The IP just makes sense. How does that exactly work? Or do they come to you? I'd love to know. And also, what makes them say yes? Do you ever get feedback about like the fact that they've seen your YouTube, or is it a pitch deck, or what is it that, you know, gets you across the line? Because Doodles have to be top tier in terms of collaborations in the industry.
I mean, they come to be in all sort of different shapes and sizes. We have a lot of inbound. I think Kellogg's, which is, you know, Froot Loops, was inbound, if I remember right. So it's usually a lot smoother of a conversation if it's inbound, right? Because you're not selling them on anything. We're doing a bit more outreach right now because we have sort of standardized brand decks, and then we'll put a page or two in there that are unique to them. Yeah, I had an amazing call just this morning with Sotheby's, and very excited about that. And yeah, so it's usually somebody saw something we did. Like, I think Froot Loops came from McDonald's. They see it and they're like, we want a piece of that kind of thing. So I don't want to put my foot in my mouth here or say too much, but it is, it's exciting. And it seems like all calls that we get on with, they're like, first of all, I love Doodles. I'm a huge fan. And it always sort of sets the tone. It's like, oh shit, like, I'm surprised you even know who we are, you know? Again,
how do they find you? Like, did they tell you how they found you?
So I think oftentimes somebody at the company is like a holder. A lot of our holders are in really high places. I know there's staff at Apple that holds it. There's even a member of the Taliban who holds a doodle. I know, crazy. So yeah, these things have permeated. But yeah,
Apple to the Taliban is probably going to be the headline of the
show. But I think it demonstrates the sort of how wide the spectrum is of, you know, types of people who hold our NFTs. So I mean, Doodles has done billions in volume. Like, it's nothing to shake a stick at. I have, you know, I still really have a hard time wrapping my head around how much of a Goliath this has become, but we don't need to sell that hard. People want to work with us.
So cool. And yeah, look, I'm not surprised. Like, I think, you know, I mentioned we could go through a couple of tweets, and again, I want to be conscious of time as we're running up to the hour now. But one post that I did see, and it wasn't even from you, but it was a quote from the Discord conversation that you guys have, your AMAs. And it was like, you know, you're going to be the next Pixar, or this is the next Pixar. You know, it was around that wording, in terms of the evolution and where you stand. I don't think anyone who knows you, knows the artwork, or has seen any of the animation, honestly disagrees with that take. Like, it's so unique as an artwork. It immediately, like, I picture it everywhere. It's something that once you have seen it, you can't unsee it. And it just sticks with you in a way that very, very few IPs do. And I guess that's, you know, why you had the Red Bull partnerships before we, you know, you even took on this role. But I think it's also why you get so much inbound, is people want a piece of that. And the larger you grow as a unique individual IP, I think I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't want to work with you guys and the IP that you're building here, because I think they see that. And of course it makes sense that the people at these companies, which are the top companies in the world, have sort of an eye for that. You know, they're going to see that first.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, man. I hope and think that you're right. There are some sort of instinctually attractive things about the style. I've mentioned before, like, in nature, sharp corners are, you know, repellent, and in nature, soft leaves and river stones are attractive. I think these drawings behave, you know, on the latter. And on top of that, the the narrative, the story, the twist, the sort of layered humor, and the sort of unsuspecting level of like macabre is all a part of this being such a universally loved IP.
Yeah, okay, so bookmarked a ton of stuff from you, from the team. Honestly, can I just give you guys a little kudos again? I don't mean to blow smoke, genuinely, but the timeline that you guys have managed to create, both your account and the Doodles account recently. Yeah, I've been a holder for a while, but I've been following you from day one. Absolute stellar work. I don't think there's another account in the space that is able to just produce the unique sort of feel to Doodles that you guys have done. I don't know what has happened over the last 6 months, especially. There's just, it feels like someone's put their foot on the gas, and it's super cool to see. Maybe just the animations. But yeah, look, I will be putting some of these in the edited clip as well, of the images that you guys have posted with Doopies.
Okay, cool.
So people have a visual reference for it. The first one I'm looking at is the most recent one from a day ago, which is the hairdryer. With the Doopie sort of flying into the hairdryer and getting all chopped up. The bow and arrow, the sword, there's these super cute creatures with not so cute demises. These guys just seem to attract death, and it's a gory death. Can you tell me anything about the thought process to this and what is going on here?
Well, we have this coined sort of way of describing our art, which is playful cynicism. I think this is that, magnified. I'm very excited about the new aesthetic too, with the sort of live action background. A lot of those backgrounds are AI actually, which is cool. It gives us this weird cinematic sort of polish. Yeah. There was a moment maybe last year where I felt the brand was veering too G-rated, too sort of corporate, and I feel like this is a response to that. These have actually been doing extremely well on Instagram. I think, at the beginning of the call we talked about the dichotomies that are natural to Doodles, and I think this is that exponentialized. It's just a lot of fun. You sort of get pulled in and then sort of push back, and I think there's that little moment of despair or I don't know. I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder, but I think we've captured something really special. Yeah, it's an extension of our mostly humanoid lore. I think these sort of little guys running around are kind of the minions to our despicable me.
Yeah, look, who is this audience? Is it the holders? Is it millennials as well? Because I do feel very seen by this artwork. I like animation. So sue me. Yes, I'm an adult. I'm in my 30s. I fucking love animation. I'm never going to leave it. No one's ever going to tell me I'm too old for it. I feel like millennials are probably one of the first sort of age brackets, demographics, whatever you want to call them, where that has been a thing. They can't be told what to like. They just like what they like, and they like what they've grown up with. When you're thinking about this artwork and how you're creating Doopies or anything that comes before, do you have that target audience in your mind? Is it just you? Are you creating for yourself, or is there someone else you're creating for?
I mean, our litmus test when we're making anything, clothes, partnerships, anything, is do we like it? Do we fuck with it? Would we share it? Because if you're not making it for yourself, I think it's that'll breathe through the work, and it's just sort of a waste of everybody's time. So yeah, I think we're a bunch of 30-something year olds, and we just make stuff that we would like to see on the timeline. And yeah, I think and just makes stuff that isn't oversaturated. And these are these little bite-sized sort of moments of delight that offer escapism and surprise. And I think in a world where, the world's a crazy place, has been, since I showed up. And I think to just do everything that's very cute and feel good, it's a bit tone deaf. Yeah, I don't know. I just try new things, make cool shit.
Okay, so final question for you, and then I promise I will let you go. And again, can't thank you enough for the time today. Be beautiful, be everywhere. What does that mean? What does that mean to Doodles? What does that mean to you?
Okay, so it's hard to do both. Well, historically, it's been hard to do both. That I think most people in the arts or design world know the Venn diagram: fast, good, cheap. Pick two. We are entering a world where we don't have to. We can have all three. I'm super excited about this AI model we're developing. It will be tested internally and shortly after put in the hands of our community, token gated generations. The idea is to make things that are studio grade be in the conversation as it's happening. And our most successful posts over the last couple months are reactionary, topical, a spin on the Coldplay cheating CEO meme, or what was another one? The final Ibiza boss, but these are static illustrations that I have to cancel a meeting and whip up and get out. And it's crazy that they compete with or outperform some of our sort of multi-week animations. But to combine those two, to have a model that's been trained on 3 years of studio grade golden wolf animations, and it's trained on video, to be able to proliferate the brand at that quality and at that speed is a massive unlock for Doodles. I think it's going to be really, really, it's going to blow the doors off of what we're able to do right now in terms of scaling the brand. But we can, manage the quality of the content coming out. So super exciting. I think every time you open your phone, you're going to see a banger from Doodles and our community. So super, super exciting. Moving full speed towards that. Yeah.
I'm so excited, dude. Genuinely, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is honestly a bucket list conversation for me to have, within the industry. And just keep doing what you're doing. We're all rooting for you, and absolutely crushing it. Are there any, talking about the community, talking about Doodles, are there any final words for the community? Any updates or milestones, or anywhere people can find you and those updates moving forward?
Just keep an eye out for more long form, beautiful partnerships. The team is more calibrated and hungry than it's ever been. I'm so appreciative of everybody who supports us, and we'll just continue to make you proud. Doodles originated as an art first brand that took advantage of new and slightly contentious technology. We'll continue to do that through AI, mediums like synthetic AR, and I think the world is changing so fast, and the way we consume content and information is changing by the day. But Doodles will always be a medium in these new eras. And yeah, I'm just so excited to keep ushering the brand forward, and appreciate everybody's support.
Awesome. Well, look, that's all we have time for. So again, appreciate you guys so much. We'll have all the account details everywhere to go if you want to, find more out about Doodles and about BT. And yeah, for everyone who does tune in and watch this, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.